I never believed in ghosts until the Halloween when I saw my own name hanging on a door, written in blood. I grew up in a small town called Ashbury, somewhere in rural Ohio. One of those places that feels stuck in a photograph from the 1980s. Wide streets, well-kept lawns, kids riding bikes until sunset, and neighbors who wave just to prove they're still alive. But that fall, something felt off. My mom and I had just moved there. My dad had died in a car crash the year before. At least that's what she told me. I never saw the body, and deep down, I always felt there was more to the story. But at the time, all I wanted was to fit in, to be part of what everyone seemed to love so much, the American Halloween. I remember looking out the window near the end of October. Dry trees, orange leaves scattered across the yard, and houses dressed up with fake cobwebs, pumpkins, and plastic skeletons. It was beautiful, almost magical, but at the same time, there was something deeply wrong with that town. It was at school when I first heard about the witch's root. "Now you've never done it?" said Maddie, the red-haired girl who sat behind me. "It's like a tradition. Everyone in Ashbury does it their first Halloween here. You have to go." She explained that at midnight on October 31st, the older kids would take a kind of night trail through the oldest streets of town, past abandoned houses and a 19th century cemetery that sat on the hill above Ashbury. It was said to be where the first settlers built the town and where the witch Eleanor Vance was burned alive. No one knew if the story was true, but everyone talked about it like it was gospel. And there was one rule. If you get invited to the witch's root, you don't say no. That afternoon, I found an orange envelope taped to my backpack. Inside was a sheet of black paper with letters cut out from magazines. Midnight, Cemetery Hill, bring a flashlight. At the bottom, written in red, was the signature, O.V. I thought it was just a prank from Maddie, but when I looked around, she was watching me, serious, almost scared. On Halloween night, the streets of Ashbury were covered in fog. The air smelled like cinnamon and melted candle wax. Kids ran from house to house yelling, "Trick or treat," while parents laughed with mugs of warm cider in hand. My mom seemed relieved that I was finally going out. "Have fun, honey. You need some new friends." She smiled, but her eyes looked distant. As I turned to leave, she said, "Oh, and if someone offers you red candy, don't take it." That sent a chill down my spine. I asked her why, but she just shook her head. "It's a local superstition," she said softly. Cemetery Hill sat past Willow Creek Road, a narrow lane framed by leafless trees. With every step, the crunch of dried leaves under my shoes seemed louder. When I reached the old iron gate, 4 kids were already waiting. Maddie, Tom, Jason, and a hooded girl named Claire. "You came," Maddie said, smiling strangely. "Now you're one of us." They lit their flashlights and started walking between the graves. I followed, reading the worn names carved into stone. Vance, Holloway, Turner. Names repeating over and over, like generations trapped in a loop. It felt like the whole town had been born and buried right there. After a few minutes, we reached an old house at the top of the hill, a rotting wooden cabin with a grinning pumpkin on the porch. Its flame flickered, though there was no wind. Jason pushed the door open. It creaked like a moan. Inside, the air smelled of mold, dirt, and something metallic, maybe rust or blood. The walls were covered with symbols scratched in charcoal. On the floor, a circle drawn in salt, and in the center, a rag doll with its eyes sewn shut. "This is where she died," Claire whispered. "Eleanor Vance, the witch. They say she cursed Ashbury before she burned. Every Halloween she comes back to choose a new body." Tom laughed nervously. "Come on, that's just a campfire story." But then we heard something upstairs, a footstep. Another, slow, heavy. Maddie lifted her flashlight. "Someone's up there," she whispered. Jason grinned. probably a raccoon. 30 seconds later, we heard the scream. It ripped through the house, sharp and human. When we ran upstairs, Jason was gone. His flashlight lay on the floor, flickering, and a red handprint smeared across the wall. But the hand had 6 fingers. We tried to leave, but the front door wouldn't budge. We kicked it, pulled it, slammed it, nothing. The house felt alive, breathing with us. Then Maddie gasped. My name was written on the door, in blood. Who did that? I asked, my voice shaking. No one, Claire said quietly. She already knew you'd come. The lights flickered. The candles went out, and for a split second, I saw a face in the cracked mirror. A woman's face, covered in ash, eyes hollow, smiling in a way no human ever could. Behind her, something was moving. Suddenly, Maddie started laughing, but it wasn't her voice. It was deep, raspy, like someone else was speaking through her. Han, a new child for Ashbury, a new body for me. The salt circle on the floor began to glow, flames licking up from the wood. The rag doll caught fire instantly, and when it burned to ash, Jason reappeared. Only his eyes were completely black. He stepped toward me and whispered, "Stay, just one more night." I ran. I didn't think, I just ran. Somehow the front door flew open, and the cold wind hit my face as I bolted down the hill, tripping between graves. Behind me, the flashlights went out, one by one. I woke up in my bed. My mom sat beside me, eyes red from crying. She said she found me lying on the porch, unconscious, covered in soot. She asked where I'd been. I lied, said I got lost. At school, no one talked about the witch's root. Not Maddie, not Tom, not Claire. And Jason, no one remembered him. It was like he had never existed. Years passed. I went to college, then moved to New York. But every Halloween at midnight, I'd wake up with the same feeling, that smell of candles, of damp earth, and a woman's voice whispering my name. Last week, I got a letter in the mail. The envelope was orange. Inside, a black sheet of paper. Letters cut from a magazine. Midnight, Cemetery Hill, we're waiting. Signed, A.V. This time, it wasn't a prank. And I knew that if I didn't go, she would come for me. I came back to Ashbury yesterday. The town looks the same, but empty. The houses, the streets, even the cemetery, frozen in time. On the door of the cabin, a single pumpkin was lit. Inside it, a photo of my mom when she was young. On the back of the photo, a message. She made a pact. You are the price. Now I understand why she never talked about the accident. Why she never wanted to leave Ashbury until she died. She knew. She knew I'd have to come back one day. And now, as I write this, I can hear footsteps in the hallway. I don't live alone, and the clock just struck midnight. If anyone reads this, never accept invitations on Halloween. And if you ever get a letter signed AV Run, before she finds you first,